Welcome to this Mastery Empowerment course from New Earth One Network. This is designed exclusively for your higher self connection and embodiment. Welcome to this Mastery Empowerment course. This is the Consciousness Accelerator, and our teacher today is Zalah. He has a very interesting background where he was in the world of finance, and he gave it all up after committing to his soul. We're going to hear from Zalah in this Mastery Empowerment course. Hello, Zalah.
Namaste. Pleased to see you again, Lauren.
Beautiful to see you too. You have spent years abroad studying with a master, and now this is your life mission. So share with us today a lesson that you think is really beneficial for all of those watching.
Well, thank you for that, Lauren. I want to say thank you for the service that you provide to humanity and the way that you do on such a magnanimous basis. I mean, you are to be accoladed, and I would be less than genuine unless I acknowledged you. So thank you for having me on your show, and thank you for doing what you do, Lauren. Okay? So if I could start, maybe perhaps a little perspective about life. You know, Christianity seeks God and is active. Buddhism is reconciling, and it finds God via the middle way. Islam surrenders to God and is passive. So here's a suggestion. Seek actively the kingdom of heaven as a Christian. Give yourself to God as a Muslim, and find your new best friend, your God, in the dynamic silence of deep Buddhist meditation. So that kind of encompasses a lot of the major religions. I don't say that Buddhism is a religion because I believe that it's not. I believe that it's a way of life. But that is highly contestable, you know. Anyways, we're all here to understand the difference between change and transformation, Lauren. Change is temporary. It's what you do for somebody else. And transformation is permanent. It's what you do for yourself, whether or not there's anybody around or not. It's permanent also, transformation. Transformation is the cocoon to the butterfly. And once you're in transformation mode, Lauren, it snowballs. And so change is automatic. Transformation, no, not so much so. It's what stays. But progress is not automatic. Progress is the result of conscious thought, intention, decision, and action. And all these are internal, Lauren. They're all inside of us. Despite what's happening in the world, you are 100% in control of your own progress. And I say that life is not a matter of chances. Life is a matter of choices. And so as a result, happiness for a lot of people is aloof. And here's a simple formula that I like to say, and that is progress equals happiness. If you're progressing personally, professionally, emotionally, spiritually, happy, you'll be happy. And happiness comes from setting a goal and moving towards it step by step until you finally achieve it. However, in the end, happiness needs a reason. But all spiritual teachers know joy does not. Joy does not. Happiness needs a reason, but joy does not. I say that we're all spiritual machines extraordinaire. We all are. And we're all here to develop our what's called our radiant light body. And the radiant light body, it has to do with these bands that go around the human body and how they get plugged up with issues of duality. And it's amazing because I know that some of the first beings here, they were here to have us remind us that these bands that surround our body, Lauren, they're the basis of creation. And for a lot of people, they don't understand that. They've lost track of that as they've gotten disconnected. And so the access to the fourth band, or the love band, is how you access your peace, how you access divine love beyond all explanation. I mean, agape love. And it's just amazing how, there's a song that actually, and we love this song. We've all heard it, and I call it the Kermit song. I'd like to play it for you if I could. Okay, let's go with the Rainbow Connect. The words are sublime.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows, and what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Who said that every wish would be heard and answered when wished on the morning star? Somebody thought of that, and someone believed it. Look what it's done so far. What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing? And what do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. All of us under its spell, we know that it's probably magic. Have you been half asleep, and have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Is this the sweet sound that calls all the sailors? The voice might be one and the same. I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something that I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. La 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 la. The lovers, the dreamers, and me.
It moves me, that song, especially when you understand how we're built, because a lot of people don't know that we have this radiant light body around us, and it's been permeated by duality, charges that we put on duality, which actually restrict. And so as a result, life that we have here before us on the planet at this time is actually key to our evolution. I talk about the quickening on various talks I'm giving right now. And I mean, the quickening is wherever you're at right now is magnified, Lauren. And if you're into fear, guilt, and shame, it's magnified. If you're into worry, it's magnified. The only safe place to be right now is love and peace. It's the only place to be, because without that and the focus and the intention on that, what happens is most people are really disconnected terribly, especially during these times of excess. And we're all going through excess right now. We've got excess weather, rain, sun, cold, hot, and it's going to get a lot more excess before it gets better. And so as a result, like most humans, you realize that the only way that you can cope is by going within and developing supernatural abilities to cope. And I mean, part of this is having to be faced with at this time issues on the number one aphrodisiac of time immemorial for humans. The number one aphrodisiac is the abuse of power. And we're seeing that in place throughout the planet right now in terms of the abuse of power. And I say, you know what? When the love of power is exceeded by the power of love, then people will know their transformation. The planet will know its transformation. And that's all there is to it. And we're in that, we can't get lost here, because in the days to come, anything is possible when nothing is possible. All true teachers will tell you this. Anything is possible when nothing is possible, because nothing is always there. Spirit, the void, always has been, always will be. And it's the grounds of creation, which is spirit. True teachers now are going to tell you, you really need to get connected. You've been disconnected long enough. You've put the illusion as priority. Yes, we all have done that. Now it's time to get connected. You got to look up and say, look, here's your chest of drawers. In the top drawer is essential. The second drawer is important. And the third drawer is other. Let me tell you something. Your arms are important, very, but oxygen is essential. Let me make this clear. You don't have oxygen, you don't have to worry about anything else. And so at this point, your divine connection is essential. It's essential. It's essential that you understand that the best of everything comes from nothing. And so if you have to be reduced to nothing, then it's a great place to create, because you've got nothing to lose. And this is the time that we're in right now. Because if you understand how to work nothing, and you understand that nothing is spirit, and the purpose of the void is the same as spirit, and that is, quote, make of me what you will. But in order to get into the void or get into spirit, you have to know the language to speak, Lauren. And the language to speak, they discovered in the Nag Hammadi library. It was the quotes by Judas Didymus Thomas, who really took the quotes of Jesus and made sure that they were preserved. And so as a result, these now are starting to come to light as to how, or I should say why, they were excluded from the Bible. First off, they were excluded, only partial truths. But now we can come into our own if we understand that, yes, it says that ask and you shall receive. Well, you got to speak the language, though. You got to speak the language of spirit. You can't just mouth the words from the human. You have to speak the language of peace and love. Then if you're at peace and love, you can create. Because without that, true teachers will tell you you're going to have to get to the void or get to spirit with your understanding of this. And so if you've been ground down to nothing these days, and a lot of people have been, I say that's a good place to start. It is. A lot of people come to me and they say, God, life is like Zalah. Life has driven me to my knees. And I say, that's a very good place to start too. And when you're being ground down to nothing, rest assured God is up to something. That's what I like to say. So manifesting is done through love. And I say love is that sky. That's what I say. Love is the space between the planets. And as we get into, quantum physics, and I noticed that you recently had Amit Goswami on there, excellent quantum physicist. I mean, excellent. This is a spiritual man as well. And so the way to access what I call a fertile mind, and masters throughout time, they've called this the Prima materia. Have you ever heard of this term, Lauren? The Prima materia. It means, does the initiate know about the Prima materia, which is the power of the fertile imagination? Does the initiate know how to get and have access to the Prima materia? Well, you've got to clean up your past, and you got to be complete with your past, and you can't be worried about the now or the future. And so true teachers teach you how to get past your past. And what I say is those who don't get past their past, Lauren, they PASS. For the ones who don't get past their past, they PASS. And so the idea is to be present, because if you're going to learn how to create, you've got to learn to be first at peace. There was a reason why Jesus was known as the Prince of Peace. Peace and presence are bedfellows. They're bedfellows. And in order for the prima materia to kick in, you must get to a point where you're at peace. Peace with your past, peace with your now, and peace with your future. And typically you do this by learning how to detach. You must put a lot of trust in your divine, and you do that by accessing life. You continue to swim in the sea of duality, but it's all on the basis of love first, will second. Love first, will second. A lot of humans, will first, very little love, or just will first. And I say, well, just a second here, we're going to reorganize the priorities, because this wave that's coming through the universe right now, called the quickening, is going to magnify where you're at. So you must be at peace and love. You must be at peace with your past in terms of saying you had to do what you had to do, and you had to get past what you had to get past. And you have to understand, two teachers will teach you techniques on how to do that. Because right now I need to tell everybody, you can't have a better past. Your past is your past. It's up to you to get the lesson, lose the emotion, and move through it. Get the lesson, lose the emotion, move through it. In the days to come, and it's starting now, that there's Mother Nature is going to go to more excess, and there's going to be teachers all over the globe that are going to pop up that can show you, instruct you on the true mechanics of consciousness. How do we take the invisible through the deification of matter and turn it into material? Deification, the word deity means God. So how can you take the invisible through the 7 layers of consciousness down here and have it in material form, and then take it from the material form back to the invisible form? There's very few teachers that can actually teach this in the mechanics of consciousness. And so once you realize that this is your time, now you're part of the quickening. So I'll come up for air now. Any questions that you might have, Lauren, for me?
Beautiful, inspiring words. When We talk of New Earth. We know that New Earth is a frequency and it is love based, it is unity consciousness, and it is free of the baggage. So, what you're sharing of the quickening, some would tend to think that that's a bifurcation. And we could call it a bifurcation, but we're all here on this planet together. Do you think that there's going to be two planets that split off, or that we all are here on our planet and we must live in that love and actually help our brothers and sisters to get there as well? It's going to be quite a
Very.
transformational change.
Oh, it is. Very, very good question. And I believe the Bible is correct, where you're going to find two people standing beside each other and one of them will disappear. Honest to God, they go to a higher level. So is it possible that we could have this planet with a dimension that's above the duality? And the people that need more seasoning in duality, is it possible that they would stay and go through the duality, which it is that they require in terms of evolving until they've had enough? Master's wish for every one of the students. I wish you enough. When you've had enough, you'll rise. You'll divinely connect. And so, yes, I guess there is a bifurcation, but it was forecasted in the Bible. And not that I'm a biblical student or a religious individual, but I do believe that there are certain items in the Bible that are pristine. The teachings of Jesus, for example, pristine. Sermon on the Mount, pristine. Pristine. And so we're here to dream ourselves awake, actually. We dream ourselves awake. And it's a time where we've got to be able to do that. But in order to do that, you must be at peace. Because your divinity, Loren, is in your tranquility. Your divinity is in your tranquility. So, as a cardinal rule, you don't react anymore. You respond, but not react. React connotates emotion. Response, you'll deal with it when the emotion has come off of it to a large or completely degree. That's empowerment. That's empowerment.
It's really mastering our emotions, isn't it?
Absolutely. You should own your emotions. We should all own our emotions, not have our emotions own us.
Mhm.
And that's key to spiritual evolution. And I mean, this is what I teach at the CFT is how do we dream ourselves awake? Well, what I do is I cover all the different brain waves and I cover the signatures of each of these brain waves so that you know in meditation how you're getting to them. And there's incredible opportunities as we know and realize that we can create. And we know we can create. We were created to create, Lauren. There should be no doubt. We all create either consciously or unconsciously. We all create. And so to be able to create consciously, we should have no doubt, because if we can create the most fantastic creation on this planet, a child, in 9 months or under, why should we ever doubt that we could create anything less in less time? Now, that's something that most students go silent on as soon as I say that in the classroom. They just go, "You're right." Okay, why? And I say it's because of the limited belief structures that each of us have. And all masters throughout time, you know what they're notorious for? Breaking open belief systems. They were belief systems busters. And I mean, what are the laws of physics, Lauren? If the laws of physics are being rewritten every year, what are the laws of physics that apply to firewalking? And I say in class, what do you think it'd be easier to do? Firewalk or walk in a baby pool of water 4 inches deep? Most people just go quiet for a while. I say, which has got the greater risk? But in order to do that, You're going to have to learn focus. You have to examine your old beliefs and structures, and you must be at peace. You can have extreme focus if you're at peace. If you're not at peace, I mean, good luck, because this is the time where you start imagining the unimaginable, and it's the time to dream yourself awake. You know, there's a song that was put out by a very conscious song that I'd like to play for you today, and the words are spectacular. And it's actually, the song is sung by Hugh Jackman, who's a very conscious guy. Yeah, really. If I could, I'd like to share that with you. Would that be okay?
Please do.
Okay, here we go.
You stumble through your days, got your head hung low, your sky's a shade of gray, like a zombie in a maze. You're asleep inside, but you can shake awake, 'cause you taste a dead man walking, thinking that's your only option. But you can flip the switch and brighten up your darkest day. Sun is up and the colors blinding, take a world and redefine it. Leave behind your narrow mind, you'll never be the same. Come alive, come alive, go and light your light, let it burn so bright, reaching up to the sky, and it's open wide, you're electrified. The world becomes a fantasy, and you're more than you could ever be, 'cause you're dreaming with your eyes wide open. And you know you can't go back again to the world that you were living in, 'cause you're dreaming with your eyes wide open. So come alive. I see it in your eyes. You believe that lie, that you need to hide your face, afraid to step outside, so you lock the door. But don't you stay that way.
No more living in no shadows. You and me, we know how that goes.
'Cause once you see it, oh, you'll never, never be the same.
Little bit of life is shining, bottle up to keep on shining.
You can prove there's more to you. You cannot be afraid. Come alive, come alive, go and light your light, let it burn so bright, reaching up to the sky, and it's open wide, you're electrified. And the world becomes a fantasy, and you're more than you could ever be, 'cause you're dreaming with your eyes wide open. And we know we can't go back again to the world that we were living in, 'cause we're dreaming with our eyes wide open. So come alive. Come on, come on, come in, come on.
To anyone who's bursting with a dream,
Come on, you hear the call. To anyone who's searching for a way to break free. And the world becomes a fantasy, and you're more than you could ever be, 'cause you're dreaming with your eyes wide open. And we know we can't go back again to the world that we were living in, 'cause we're dreaming with our eyes wide open.
Well, what do you think of that?
Well, that is so beautiful and vivacious. I think I've Shazammed that song myself, because the words, they speak to us, and it's so beautiful. It's happening when you have that message out there. This is what we mean, where love will prevail. People will surrender to love. They will. It seems like a cop out, but it's not a cop out. It's essential.
Absolutely. You know, it says in the Bible, the meek shall inherit the earth. Do you know why? Because if you're Queen Beatrix the Shell, You don't need how to learn how to create and manifest. You've got everything. And so the smaller person that I like to teach is one that knows that they can create, but the load of life on them typically is so heavy that they've just been filed down to nothing. Give me somebody that has got the will, the determination, and knowing that there's something within them that needs to blossom. This is an individual that I can train, because I think this way is difficult. The old way that you had is impossible. You have a choice. This is not easy, but the old way was impossible. And so, do you want to be taught? And if so, I can help. I can help. Now, the teaching itself is not my teaching. I learned it. It's not my teaching. I live it as best as I can. I don't own it. It's not something that should be copyright. And I don't believe that there should be copyright on truth. What was the copyright on the Bible? Koran, the Vedas. I could keep on going. There should not be any copyright. My next books, I said to my lawyer, I want to put on there no copyright. I want to send it to Deepak and all the rest of the authors. And he said, you got to watch, because if you don't put it on there, then possibly they could come back and they could quarantine it and say it's their work and then prevent you from teaching it. I said, what? This is insane. So these are some of the things that I think that as time goes on, people should access the truth, because it's the truth that sets them free. And again, I'm not a religious guy, but we're all here to dream ourselves awake. And how we do that is, one of the things I say is, listen to me, a child from day 1 to age 2, eyes are open, but they're in deep. They're below theta. They're in delta. But everything is getting in. Everything is getting in. Then from 2 to 6, they're in theta. They move up, but everything is getting in because of the neuroplasticity. Once they get from there to 9, they're in alpha and then beta. And beyond 9, they're in full beta. So you know what? They're in the illusion at that time. So you must become like a child to enter the kingdom of heaven. I got to get you all the way back in the delta, which I train people to do, so that what they're taking in is enormous. They got enormous capacity. They got neuroplasticity. They understand what's going on. We're on the same page. And this takes a little bit of training. I'm here to tell you. But that's where the magic is, when you realize that we come through this phase in the illusion here, where the emotions are like this, conditions are up and down like this. And finally, you meet a true teacher who says, okay, come on into phase 3. This is the alone phase, the all one phase, shortened to alone. You're going to need more time alone to meditate. You're going to need more time for you to dream yourself awake. But I'm going to have to get you calm. I'm going to have to explain brainwaves. I'm going to have to get you all the way down to delta and maybe even into gamma. This rolls off the tongue easy. All right? This does. It's not easy. But you can go back to your old life if you like, which is impossible. It's killing you. Or you can decide you're going to come up to these 4 centers here. Rather than just live in your bottom 3 centers, you're going to come up to your 4th seal and above. I call all of them seals. But in the 7th seal, the Bible refers to the mighty 7th seal. The Bible does not refer to the mighty 7th chakra. Excuse me. And so these seals, as you open them, they open up a different part of the brain. So I think these seals should be called SEE-ALLS. I think they should be called seals, because then you realize the spiritual machine that you are, going from the 3rd to the 4th here. And I say you can either come from being a son or a daughter of man, the bottom 3, or you can be a son or God, or son or daughter of God in the upper 4. So you can be the son of man or the son of God. Be the woman of man or the woman of God. It's your decision here. But in order to do this, You have to calm down. You have to absolutely calm down. You have to get peace. And I mean, all of us are making a living. I understand. But what I train you to do is I start training you to go to a different room in your mind, a room in your mind that controls the frontal lobe. And in your house, you have the bathroom, the kitchen, living room. You don't do kitchen in the bathroom, and you don't do bathroom in the living room. So we're going to develop how I train you, a new room, and it's going to be called the quiet room. And in the quiet, you can get peace. And this is where you'll flower. This is where you can get to these brain waves. You get into that peaceful room, you control the frontal lobe. You control the frontal lobe, you control your life.
And there it is. That is the teachings and the lesson. And you've lived this in your life, literally, and are sharing it with the rest of the world. And that's the mission. So you talked about brain waves. You go into this in your course. We're going to talk about that too. But it really seems like these seals, can you describe them into what many people can recognize as chakras?
Yes. A chakra is an open seal, is what it is. When a male or female loses their virginity, that seal is now a chakra. And it has to do with life of sex and survival issues, all sex and survival issues. First chakra. Second, it triggers the second chakra. The second chakra has certain properties to it that I teach you, and then so does the third here. That most humans, they don't realize, but these three centers, once they're open, they keep you confined to 10% of the brain. That's it, because the 10% has to do with the illusion primarily. But what's interesting is that 10% of the brain does not survive your death. It's what's outside the box that survives your death. And so why is it so that this 90% has not shrunk? Because nature has a law, that of which you do not use, you lose. Yet if I put one of your arms in a cast for 10 or 15 years, it would atrophy so badly, you may never use it again. Why not the brain? Why didn't the brain shrink? This is a very interesting teaching in itself. Too deep to cover at this particular hour. But I'll say this, that there's more of you, whoever you're listening to, whoever is listening right now, there's more of you, you have to agree with me, outside the box than inside the box. And if you're going to live your life in the box, primarily polarized issues in the box, at the end of your life, they're going to put you in the dirt, throw in a box and throw dirt in your face. And you didn't get it, but that's okay. You got a round trip ticket. You can go back and come back again. And for those of you who don't believe in reincarnation, I always say to students, it's okay, you will next time.
So would you say that what's the ultimate goal in this life? Is it to become conscious enough that we break free of that cycle of reincarnation?
Absolutely. And you do that by realizing your purpose. What you do for a living is not your purpose. No, it's not. Surprise. You're here to connect divinely in the face of the sea of duality, where everybody's swimming in the sea of duality. The idea is to go up to the next level and swim in the ocean of love. But everybody is swimming in the sea of duality. And if you're, I'm going to put out a book on this. If you're lucky, you find a lifeguard that throws you a life raft and says, get out of the pool, get out. Come over here, sit down for a while, catch your breath, get calm. And you say, I'm wasting time. I say, yeah, look at all those people. They're like piranha. They're crawling over each other. Look at the water's frothing. I say, just a second here. Come over to the side. Let's get calm. Okay, and I want you to look over there. I want you to look within now. And I'm going to teach you how to swim. But first, I got to teach you how to float in that water. So I got a practice pond over here. You can float? Yes. Yes, you don't have to be thrashing around. You can float. I got to get you peaceful though. And I get you to float in the water. Now you have to learn to float before you can swim. Most of those people, they've forgotten this when they learned how to swim. They've forgotten that. And now they're back to just frothing out there in the sea of duality. And once you get this, you can go back in, let you go back in there, and you can actually help others.
Yes, actually help others. And what a big shift in our world as people understand this in their own life and can help others with it. You are doing this. You are helping others get to this place. It's how New Earth is created. It's how we live in a fulfilled life in a fulfilled
Yes.
way. It's how we create the new systems and structures that need to be replaced in this opportunity as the old crumbles and
Yes.
shifts. And again, with the quickening that is going on, we can certainly look in our lives and see, like, for example, things that we generated when we were in the flow,
Yes.
as you say, and in this peaceful space are quite accelerated. And I'm certain that others, none of us are immune from this, really. Maybe some of us are, like yourself, but perhaps at other times, if we have let's call it a pity party, we can really feel that go into that extreme if we're feeling sorry for ourselves. And it really takes an extra effort to pull us up out of that. So it's important that we pay attention to this consciousness and steer our consciousness in a way that we can manifest like this and be that peace and love. That's what your course is about. Can you tell us more about what folks will learn as they go through that 10-part series?
Well, it's actually a beginner's course for somebody that's done a fair amount of work. But it applies to if, in fact, you haven't done any work and you just want to find yourself, and you're getting to that particular point now where you realize there's this calling within you that basically says, I need to do this, and you'll know if this is for you, and if it's not for you, you will understand that. And so the course itself is basically basics on how it is that you find your center. Can you do this? The teaching itself is not religion. I mean, I'm here to tell you the teaching is open to anyone, Loren, but it's not for everyone. It's meant for those who have this strong calling inside that they're just taxed by the illusion, because structure in the illusion, I mean, I teach this, but what I say is that structure is a wonderful servant, but a tyrannical master. Tyrannical. And so as anybody is listening to this, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about, because the 9 to 5 and all the loose ends that you got to do to make a bank account work and to make your life work and make all the obligations work, is it possible that by going within, you could get a higher ROE? Well, what's an ROE? Well, back in the financial world, we would call that return on equity, Loren. But in the spiritual world, what I call it is return on energy. If you're tired of putting in a foot worth of effort and getting an inch back, as you get older, that's not a good deal. The idea is you got to think about, how could I increase my effectiveness, my return on energy? So I'm putting in an inch energy and getting a foot back. And if not, I haven't really learned anything all these decades. These words should echo through the canyons of your soul. If you're listening to this, this should make consummate sense. And you know what? Either Jesus was a BS artist when he said, what I can do, you can do also and more, or the guy was telling the truth. I choose to know, actually, that he was telling the truth, because we all manifest either consciously or unconsciously. Nobody will contest that. Nobody will. And life is a matter of conscious choices. That determines your reality. So ideally, to be able to learn how to purposely create is what the course, the Consciousness Accelerator, is all about. How do you consciously create? Well, just to give you an insight a little deeper, to create, you actually must have peace. You got to have peace of mind, which is a bedfellow with presence, and it's a bedfellow with focus. Peace, presence, focus are all in the same bed together. Next, you must decide what it is, the most important thing that you want to create at this time. What is it, the most important thing that you want to create at this time? And I say to the students in the class, I pick one out and I say, okay, I am the genie. Give me 3 things that you want to create in 10 seconds. Do you know what you want? Okay, here you go, 10 seconds. And they go, money, health, relationships. And I say, okay, those are your 3. I'll give you the answer now. Okay, what's the answer? Why did you just choose to be the genie? Silence. Of course. But that's what a true teacher does. A true teacher will make obvious the unobvious and say, you bet. So what should I do? Well, why don't we work on you being the genie? Why don't we work on you having a union with your divine, yourself, so that you can create whatever and get turned on again in a different way. I want you to get a heart on. I want you to really get excited about what it is you want to create. I want you to really meditate on it the night before. I want you to get up in the early morning hours. And I mean, I'm going to tell you your report card. You know what your report card is for life? Is your thoughts when you wake up in the morning. That tells you where your reality is at. And most humanity does not know that. Right. We need to change that for most people, and most people go, yes, I can help there. Starts with the Consciousness Accelerator course, and then you'll graduate to the Spiritual Awakening course, number 1. That's by 3 certified consciousness coaches that teach 3 hours each over 3 weeks. The next 3 weeks, and then they answer questions on a call-in line. So that's Spiritual Awakening number 1. We're about to launch Spiritual Awakening 1 when you finish the Consciousness Accelerator, which you can get right now. Then you'd have to go through a Spiritual Awakening 2, which we used to have manual face-to-face before COVID, but now we've been forced to do it this way through Zoom, through recording. And so these are professional. These are well-trained teachers that have been with me 10 plus years that are finally qualified to teach. You can imagine. And these are educated people. And so the first course is going to be 9 weeks long, an hour per week for 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 9 weeks. And then there's homework involved. Then you enter Spiritual Awakening 2, which we don't have on the table yet. We should be able to announce Spiritual Awakening 1 when somebody finishes the Consciousness Accelerator. But this is something that we're going to take all over the world, and it's about removing fear. And one of the things that I put on the board continually is KNOW, fear, space, KNO, or I should say KNOW, fear, dash, NO, God. No fear, no God. Next line. NO, fear, dash, KNOW, God. So, no fear. You full of fear? No God. No fear, no God. And I substitute quite often the word God for love in its simplest forms. No fear, no love. So the words are pronounced the same, but they mean totally different things as to no fear. K-N-O-W, fear. N-O, God. N-O, fear. K-N-O-W, God. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think people are really seeking to be free of fear and going within as you teach and making that divine connection even deeper is the path forward. And it's a beautiful world. I see that world as people are connected in that way.
Yes.
And I think others can see that too. That's why those watching and listening are really excited on this journey where we are in our transformation. So, this Consciousness Accelerator is the foundation of working with you
Yes.
on this path. And the benefits are multifold because people will be at peace. They'll learn the ancient teachings that you've learned,
Yes.
and this will absolutely transform their life. Anything else you want to share on benefits that you've seen from students who've taken this with you?
Well, absolutely. Suddenly what happens is when you get aligned, when this is really beautiful, the incidence of coincidence increase. The incidence of coincidence, and I say a coincidence is not serendipity. It's if I took a big sheet of plywood and I took a power saw and I took a great big V out of the plywood and I pulled that part away over here for 5 minutes and I said, now watch this. And I push it back into the plywood and I say, look at this. It fits perfectly. And you go, yeah? And I go, my point is the angles were a good fit. The angles coincided. Coincided is the basis of coincidence. So when something happens by coincidence, something's happening up there that you're supposed to pay attention to. So wouldn't it be great to just, I thought about that person and they called. I thought about this and it happened. I thought about that amount of money and it happened. I thought about this level of happiness, or I found a good person to share my life with and it happened. As you become more fertile and connected here, your incidence of coincidence start to increase. And then you look at life magically. And then from there, it snowballs. It can snowball.
Beautiful. Well, this course that you're offering is professionally produced.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful videos, very well done.
You've had some of this course. You've looked into it.
Yes, and the viewing portal that you've created allows people to come back at any time and learn it again or to absorb
Yes.
it again.
Yep.
And it's a really wonderful teaching.
It is. And I mean, I thank you for having me here today to allow me to get the word out, because we need to educate more people to find their center. It's the time of connection and it's the time of going within. And if you don't go within, listen to me, you're going to go without. It's that simple. If you don't go within, you're going to go without. And I mean, Lord, we're all walking each other home here. We're all, you and I, arm in arm, we're going in this direction here, and it's an elevation. And you know what? A lot of people understand that in their heart. They just don't have the words to express it like you and I do, but they know it in their heart. They know this feeling of love. They know that they're not at their optimum right here.
Yes.
They do.
They know it. We each know it. This is why we talk about that surrender to love. Is it going to be a push comes to shove to surrender to love? Or is it going to be this becoming the genie? I think we will choose to become the genie and the masters and bring these teachings into our life, truly living them. Beautiful.
Thank you. We all must realize in closing that we are both a divine generator and a magnet. Wouldn't it be great? Master's ultimate motto, and I'll close with this. Master's ultimate motto: do nothing, accomplish everything. That means you have to pull things to love is pull. So you're a divine generator and a magnet when you get aligned in these upper four.
And you go deeply into those teachings more in the course that we talked about. You know, when we look at the ancient Mayan sculptures, there are statues, and the statue is holding the head in his hands. It's as if we have to lose our head, that nothingness that you're talking about, to ascend and align even deeper with Source.
You are bang on the money. It was Gary Zukav that said, the longest journey you're ever going to make is from your head to your heart. And it's true.
Thank you, Zalah, for this
Namaste.
beautiful teaching today.